Hello guys, Communion here from Coding for Youth, and welcome to the 11th lesson in this Python series. We've been so far learning about Python from scratch. We've talked about variables, and in the previous lesson we were actually at string methods, talking about methods, built-in Python methods that you can use to manipulate strings. It can be very useful, and these methods can be very useful. So before we continue, I would like to encourage you that this channel is actually made and created to encourage you out there, self thoughts and also professionals, to try a bit of code every day. There are a lot of resources out there that can help you to achieve your coding dreams. But of course, when you consolidate commitments with consistency, definitely every language, every syntax, or um, everything that seems to be difficult, at the beginning, we eventually become easy, and you become a mastery of it, a master of it. Okay, so try a bit of code every day. And also, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel and leave your comment at the comment section and like the video, just to encourage me. Okay, so I just want to talk about a few built-in methods. There are lots of built-in methods, there are lots of them. But I will talk about just two or three, let me say 3 or 4 in this particular lesson, and then we'll enter into other Python data types. Okay, so like I said, there are lots of Python built-in string methods that you can search out. If you go online, you can see a lot of them. We see partition, replace. We've talked about replace. Strip, lower. We've talked about lower. And then, but in this video, we're going to talk about specifically, we're going to talk about number one, we're going to talk about join, the join method, string method. We'll also talk about, let me see, the other method I would like to talk about will be count, the count method. This can be very useful. So we have the count method. I also like to talk about which other method now? There are lots and lots of them. I also like to talk about the endswith method. Let me just say endswith method. And then, if time will be, I will talk lastly about the isalnum method to check if the string is all alphanumeric. So it's all, talk about the isalnum method. Okay, so let's start with the join method. Now, the join method, actually the join method is used to, we can say the join method takes all items, in an iterable, like a tuple or a dictionary, and then convert it to a single string. Okay, and using a separator, you have to specify the sub separator, and the separator has to be a string. So let me just give you an example of what I'm trying to say. I'm going to start with a tuple. So let's say I have a tuple. Let me put all this on a single line. So we got this. So let me say I have a tuple tu, and I say this is equal to, remember that a tuple is actually a comma separated, items in a parenthesis. Okay, so let's say we have a tuple such as, I'll use Tom. Okay, comma, I'll use John. Let me say Andy. Okay, So if this is a tuple, right? This is not a string. In fact, you can check that by printing. We have talked about this before, knowing the type, and then we can just print tu. And if you run this, definitely you see that this is of category or class tuple. Okay, so how do we convert a tuple to a string? We can do that by using join. So I'm going to assign the conversion to a new variable, and I'll just say tuple to string. Let me just use that as the name of the variable, and I'll come here and I'll say, of course, like I said, a join method will always want to have a separator, and the separator has to be a string, and the separator we definitely need to come before the join. So you say, let's say we want to use a comma as the separator. So we start with a string, comma, like that, dot join. That's the syntax. And then we now enter the tuple that we want to join. So eventually, if we print t to str, excuse me, if we run this, you see we now have a string. Okay, this is a string, and in fact, if we can check the type here by saying, by using the type function or type method. Okay, so if we run this, see this is type string or category string. So you use join. In fact, you can change this to be anything, to be as a separator. Okay, and in fact you can put a space here to have space in between them. So if you run this, this is class, yeah. So let's remove this and print the value. Okay, so if you run this again, you see that this is Tom, John, and Andy. Okay, as the separator. You can equally do something like this. Since we're using let's say we use comma, you can do something like this, and then you see this is a string, right? So the join method, like I said, is actually used actually to convert a tuple, and any iterable, be a list, a tuple, a dictionary. Okay, so for instance, if we instead of this we say this is a dictionary, right? And we can come down here, we say, okay, let's have a dictionary. Let's say dic, and then we say this is equal to, a dictionary. It is more like an object, right? In JavaScript. So let's say we say name. It has a key and a value. Okay, so the name is going to be the key, and then the value, I'm going to say Tom, or let me say first name, rather, f name for first name, and then comma. I can come here and say another key, last name, and the value is going to be ny nyone. Okay, right? So can also put another key age, right? And the value is going to be we can say 35. Okay, so if we want to convert this to a string, the string conversion is going to work. The join is going to only iterates or converts the keys into a string, and not the values. Okay, we'll discuss how to also iterate the values in a very maybe in the next session. So if we come here and we say, let's just print this instead of this assigning it to, we can just come here and say we want to use comma to separate this, Okay, the join. And what are we joining? The dick. Okay, and let's run this. Let me just put let me just comment out that if we run this, you see we have first name, last name, and the age. So it trades through the values of a dictionary. So a string actually do that. Remember I told you that the separator, which you can see here, has to be a string. Okay, so you can actually use join to convert any iterable into a string, a big string. Okay, now briefly I talked about counts. Counts, what count does is the count method returns the number of times a specified value appears in the string. Okay, so for instance, let's just clear all this, and then we say str is equal to the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. I'm going to say another dog and then dog. Okay, so now we have a string. So when we say the number of time a particular value, this can actually be used in regular expression with regular expression to do it to build a search program. So let me say I want to count the number of time the word dog appears in the string. It could be a very lengthy text. Okay, so I will come here and say I'm going to assign this. Remember, like I said in the previous class, that all string methods returns a new value, but the original value is not altered, right? Okay, so for instance, if I come here and maybe I want to create another variable and then assign uh, this remember this string method will actually give you the number of times the specified value is found. Okay, the number of times it appears in the string. So in this case now, we can actually just print this out and we can say counts. We can say str dot count, just to count, and then you specify the value you want to count. Let's say we want to count dog. How many times does the word dog appears in this string? Okay, with this variable, the string is assigned to this variable. So if you run this, you see to give you 2. Okay, right? Because we have, if you go through this string, you see we have dog appearing 2 times. Now this may not be handy with a small text like this, but if you have a lengthy documents, this can help you in doing your search work for you. Okay, see how many times a particular words appear. If for instance I come here and I want to see how many times the word quick appears, it's going to be just 1, right? It's going to be 1 because it appears just 1 time. So it can be very handy. Another thing is you can actually specify your start and the end value of what you're searching for. If you don't want to search throughout the whole document, you say you want to start search or counting from a particular value and ends at a particular value. So briefly, I'll just the syntax. The syntax is basically the syntax of the counts is normally you have your string, right, and then dot count, and then you have your value, the specified value. You have the start where you want it to start from, and then the end. Okay, this is normally the syntax of the count method. Now I would also like to talk about the endswith method. The endswith method, I talked about the join, I've also talked about the counts. And let's look at the endswith method. The endswith method, which is this now. So I'm going to leave all this. I'm going to leave all this. Now the endswith method, like what I said, returns true if the string ends with a specified value. Otherwise, it will return false. So basically, it's actually going to give you a Boolean result. Okay, for instance, now I want to check if this string str actually with assigned to this variable str actually ends with the word dog. Okay, I can, how do I do that? I can actually come here and say ends with, does this string ends with the word dog? Okay, to find out, we're going to run this program, and then it will say true, of course, because the last word there is dog. Now, what if we want to check if it ends with fox instead of dog? You say fox. What do you think the result will be? Of course, it's going to be false, because the word fox does not end. The word fox does not end the string. Okay, so that's one useful thing you can actually do. It could be a word, it could be a single letter. We can actually check if it ends with all of this, right? And what do you think the result will be? It's going to be true, right? Because it actually ends with that. Okay. So yeah, you can actually also specify, the position you want it to count from and where you want it to end, just like the count method. Okay, the syntax is actually similar to the count method. Okay. Okay, in this class, in this particular lesson, I would like to talk about, like I told you, there are many string methods. I would like you to just, search and see the one that you can use. But lastly, I would love to talk about isalnum, this string method. Okay, so the isalnum method returns true if all the characters are alphanumeric. Okay, that means let's say okay, let me say this is equal to fox 24. Okay, now these are all alphanumeric. Now it will return false if there's a space between the alphabet and the number, or there is any of any character, such as let me just list the characters. Any characters, it will return false for character. It will return false for characters like such as space. Let me just put that in the bracket, space, or exclamation sign, or hash, or percentage, or ampersand, or question mark, or at, or any of this, it will return false, etc. Okay, so let's look at this. So if we print this, that's what we're talking about, is all none. If we print this string, this does not take any argument. So if we print this, it will return true, right? Because there's no space between the fox and the number. Now let's put a space there and then check it again. So we'll print this, you see it returns false. What about if instead of that we put something like this in between there? It will also return false, right? Because there's a character there that is not accepted, that is not considered to be a number or alphabet. Okay, so the alphanumeric or alphanum method actually returns a Boolean value depending on if what you're checking is a complete alphanumeric together or not. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. I'd like to end here, and then in our next lesson we're going to talk about other data types in Python. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in another video, another lesson.